All right, my friends, imagine making a video about the easy mage farming ZG Crocs on hardcore, and then actually making going so far as to make a clickbait thumbnail where you put the word easy on it and then dying doing that poll. Yeah, that's me. So my second level 60 Jeff X is now dead. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what killed me. And if you'll bear with me, I'm going to dive a little bit more into like what it's like to lose a level 60 character in a hardcore raiding guild. Everything you actually lose out on, the emotional aspect of it all. And I'll look at my mage's death along with another level 60 death that happened in one of the runs I was in recently. And I'm going to try and tie it all back to like where I'm at now and how I've sort of recovered. And hopefully there's sort of a silver lining to it. But first of all, how did I die? Well, I've been solo farming the ZG Crocs, and I was doing these 3 packs here, 1, 2, and 3, very successfully. I did many runs, so much that I was like bringing down the Bijou cost on my server, Defias Pillager. But like I was only killing 12 to 15 crocs each in each 5-minute run. So I decided to add this 4th pack back here. And I did it very successfully, many more times until I missed this jump. I landed in the water and I was dismounted here. Before I had to run along the edge, I had to run through the crocs, which I had done successfully a couple of times before. But as I was rounding the corner, I missed my jump up out of the water, and I got like behind the spot where you have to jump up. So I was in this little sort of nook where I couldn't jump up. I petried, and by mistake, I double clicked my Petri macro that I was using. So I petried and instantly canceled it. And then I only had 1 Petri on me, and that was it. I was dead. The group of crocs was on top of me. So, it was a combination of my missing the jump across the water, missing the jump around the corner, fat fingering my Petri button, and using the wrong macro at the wrong time. And just quite simply, poor planning in having only 1 Petri. And that was it. Jeff X, the second, was dead. And so what did I lose this time? Well, it's pretty rough, and it's something that like weighs on your mind. And typically I'm a proponent of this instantly, like we go again. And it's not just a hardcore meme that we say go again over and over. It's actually the best way to like cope, because you lose any higher level character, your mind really goes to like all the things that you had done and are now lost. And it's like this like mental anguish that you have. But when you delete that character and start again at level 1, even if it's just taking a couple hours and leveling up to 10, it's amazing how quickly you become invested in that new character's progress. And it like really helps you move along from the dead one. But in my case, I did this literally a couple hours before my weekly BWL MC Ani raid, where I was scheduled to techie tank in BWL, by the way, on the dead mage. So, fortunately, this guy was my gold farmer mage that I created specifically to do this stupid stuff, and not my primary raider, who was spec'd and geared for fire to do AQ40. So I had to quickly respec him back to Frost and do this raid like right after losing a 60. So it was like a tough night. But anyway, I find that you keep thinking about like what you lost and what you're going to need to do again. Even though he was only a 60 for a couple of months, in addition to the time that it would take to re-level, which I'm going to talk about in a sec, I kept thinking like, oh yeah, I got to do the Mage Water Quest again, and I got to do the MC and BWL Attune again, and the Ani Attune and Jailbreak and all that. And I had a ton of gear on this guy. I had all the AQ20 boss staff. I had the ZG Hakar cloak. I had mission dares from Neff. I had 4 of 8 T2 already, because my long-term goal with this guy was to have him be a dedicated farmer and techie tank in my raid. So, I could leave my main as fire. I had taken mage books, spell books from AQ20. And, that leads me to my next thing that is probably the most bothersome thing about losing this character, or anytime you die. I raid in this guild, HC Elite, and despite being in and out of the guild for a number of years, I was always kept like largely to myself until recently. And then I've been more like a lower level or like fringe raider in terms of the groups that I run with. And my own performance, frankly, as a boomer, dad gamer, keyboard turner. But even so, I've gotten a lot of stuff from the guild. And it occurred to me when my first mage was getting geared up in MC and BWL that like, these raiding characters are very much a co-ownership situation by the members of the guild, and specifically the members of the raiding teams that you run with. And like for me, I actually planned for it. I know I'm going to do stupid risky stuff on my mage, and I was doing it on my main, and I realized I'm going I'm raiding and then taking this stuff into ZF Graveyard and farming, and it occurred to me I'm just putting stuff that our team had earned at risk. So I rolled the first Jeff X as a dedicated farmer, but then I started raiding and gathering gear on that guy too. And then I went and lost it doing something that is very risky and frankly just a bit stupid, right? This ZG croc farming. And I took away a huge amount of like collective effort from the guild and specifically my raid teams. And that probably more than, you know, all the time and the effort and the stuff that I lost is like weighed on my mind, especially considering the sort of like greedy way that I died. Now that's all in my own mind. Nobody in the guild has said, why'd you do that? Why'd you lose our raid stuff? And frankly, it was exactly the opposite. They're like, we're going to help you gear up again. We're going to go. They put together groups to help me do stuff. So it was the opposite, but it still bugs me quite a bit. Now that was a completely self-inflicted, like poor play type of death that I caused. And it was still a semi-fresh 60. And I'm going to share with you now one of the most brutal deaths I've ever personally witnessed in hardcore. And it happened to one of our guild's very best rogues in terms of skill and tenure and like gear. And most of all, just like general reputation in the guild. So here we go on Cthulhu. We're all getting ready to run in. We're running into our spots and we all have an assigned spot exactly in the room. That we're all running to before we generate any threat from the boss. And the reason is that he's going to start to I-beam you when you're on the threat table. And if he hits you with an I-beam, it hits you for only like 1700 damage. But if you're close to another person, it will chain to the person next to you and next to that person and next to that person. And it does 1.5 times damage more each time it chains to another person. And it's an exponential increase and very quickly will kill the third or fourth or fifth person in the chain. So I'm running to my spot, which is in front of this pillar. My buddy Headcrab here is actually in the wrong spot. He should have been to my right and he was to the left, but like we're okay because there's only two of us there. Right away, as you can see, he gets beamed and it chains to me. And if I back up for just 1 second, you can see I have my shield on, which is, I should have had a mana shield on, but this is a greater nature protection pot, which this is nature damage. So it chains to me. I'm second in the chain. It's only like 2,500 damage and it absorbs the pot. I don't take any damage to myself. I'm okay. So then I actually look over to see him a couple of times. Why are you in that spot? And he whispers me and says, oops, wrong spot. But we know that we're fine. So here we are, we're fighting, and you can see the melee's up here. It's kind of behind this DBM warning here, but the melee is unfortunately in a situation where they have to stack because there's not enough space around Cthulhu to be able to do melee damage and be 13 yards apart from everyone. So they stack in groups of 2, which is totally fine because you can see even the second person in the stack doesn't take that much damage as I just did with Headcrab there. And they all should have their pots on and everything else. So you have under this star, there's actually a moon there that you can't quite see. You have Yuna and Bad Dreams stacked on top of each other. Yuna and Bad Dreams. And then you have Thrag Pump and Mini-Me here, which Mini-Me is right here. And they're all in the right spot. We're doing damage. Everything is fine. I happen to be glancing back and forth to my left to look at Headcrab and see like, why are we in the weird spot? But I think we're okay. I'm checking. I do 1 second look. And then as I look back, what you can see here, it's very hard to see because it's behind this I-beam thing, but a tentacle has spawned where it says claw right there. And what a tentacle does is it launches the player it spawns on top of, and it does a little bit of damage and spawned right on top of where Yuna and Bad Dreams were. And you can see that they took a little bit of damage. Yuna's down in health, and so is Bad Dreams. And I'm just going to go very slow here, frame by frame. Yuna's getting launched backward behind my unit frames. There she goes with the moon on her head. I'm shooting fireballs. We're trying to roll our ignite. The captain has. And Bad Dreams gets launched to the right. And Bad Dreams is launched, unfortunately, right on top of Thrag and Mini-Me. Lands right there. So I'm going frame by frame here. This entire thing happens in less than a second that I'm going to explain here. So instantly they go, get back to your spots. And they know Bad Dreams starts moving to the left in an instant. Thrag sees that suddenly there's 3 and for a second thinks, should I spread out? Why is this person in the wrong spot? They start moving back. Meanwhile, it's behind my raid frames, but Yuna's running back to her spot like this way. So frame by frame, Bad Dreams moving left. Here comes Yuna's sword, you can see. Thrag starts to move to the left a little bit, thinking, ooh, I got to get out of this group of 3. And unfortunately, Mini-Me is the next beam target, and they've created a line of 4 perfectly here. Mini-Me to Thrag Pump. Mini-Me takes no damage. Thrag takes just a little bit. Bad Dreams is almost dead because remember they were both damaged from the claw first. And poor Yuna is last in the chain, instantly one shot dead. So there's how, in an instant, a very well-liked, Nax-geared rogue with many, many months of playtime is dead. And, I don't mean to overshare here, but I don't know her real well, like I said, but the reaction from a bunch of people in the guild that have been there for a long time was like devastation. They were like all so bummed. She shared that there were like tears because of the lost character, and then secondarily because of the outpouring of messages that she got from so many saying, you got to go again, and please come back, we're going to help you. And when you don't play this game, or you're watching and laughing at the death clips on YouTube, it's really easy to, say rep bozo and rip bozo and haha, or it's just pixels, don't sweat it. But like when you spend as much time on these characters as we do in this game mode, it's like such this emotional sense of loss when your character dies. And this one specifically really stuck with me because it was such a brutal and I think just completely unavoidable death, which frankly is why I'm always a little scared running AQ40. So anyway, I mentioned there's like a silver lining to this, or an update of what's going on now. So first and best, I was so happy to see that Yuna did go again. She's already, at least as of when I'm recording this now, she's already back to at least 50. And as for me, I waited until the day after my BWL raid to re-roll. Like I said, normally I would go right away, but that was Thursday late at night. I re-rolled on Friday and I was able to hit 60 again by the following Saturday. So right around 8 days. I broke my own HC leveling record of 72 hours and 4 minutes. I was so bummed I missed out on the 3 days played mark by 4 minutes, but I'm going to do it next time. And, I say it often, I'm a classic dad player. I'm not that good of a WoW player, but I do enjoy being extremely efficient and consistent, and I'm a pretty good AoE mage player, so I end up being a very quick leveler, and I have a couple realm firsts under my belt. And a couple folks asked, what was my process and how did I level that quickly? And first and foremost, as a mage, I was completely boosting with my other 60. So it was full duoing. I'm alt-tabbing between screens and helping to kill everything. And if you don't know, the mechanic is pretty simple. You do not group with your level 60, first of all, and you must do at least 40% of the damage on the mobs on your leveler to get full XP. So you tag, you get the mobs around you, get them down to 60% or a tad lower, and then you just grind them down quickly with your 60, saving mana as much as possible as you can on your leveler and pulling as quickly as possible. And of course, that allows you to get to spots sooner. It allows you to save pulls that you otherwise would have maybe had to run away on, and you become much, much quicker. I really follow the same path, whether I am single or duo. I follow the same leveling path, but I just go to the spots a level or so sooner as a duo. So I quested to level 11. I did the hyper spawning crabs in Westfall until level 18. I did the gnolls in the south area of Red Ridge to 20. From 20 to 26, I did what is traditionally the first Blizzard AoE spot in Wetlands with those gnolls. However, I don't move from pack to pack like most people. I park in front of the first pack, which has 4 hyper-spawning mobs, and I just grind them down and maybe a few extras that pat by as quick as possible. And actually, for me, that's more kills or XP per hour than running between the camps. I then go back to Red Ridge and I grind down the Yowler pack, which respawns on a 30-second timer, and I do all the gnoll packs around them as they respawn. At 30, I go to Duskwood, and it's one of my favorite spots, this big pack in front of this cave. I do that all the way to 34. I then go to Goshek from 34 to 37, the classic mage AoE spot. I do Duskwallow Murlocs from 37 to 42. And then 42 to 43 is a very weird one, right? 42 is this, it's too low for pirates in my opinion. It's too high for the Worgen. So I traditionally go to Badlands for that level, and I do the turn-in quest. You can bring a bunch of stuff with you. You go do the rock quest and do your stopwatch quest. And then I just grind wolves and vultures and trogs up to 43. From 43 to 49 is preferably Pirates. On HC at 45, I'll do 5 lockouts of ZG Graveyard if Pirates has any competition. At 49 or as a duo, or 50 if I'm solo, I go do 1 level at Sorrow Hill in WPL. And then I go to the last spot and it's grinding like 20 hours straight at Dulce's Tears. I don't go and do the trolls or any of the other farms. You can go up north in WPL and do that area with patrolling elites. I just stay in Dulce's. for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's very quick and you can still get XP all the way up to 60 there. Two, I netted 111 stacks of rune cloth doing that and 1,914 minion scourge stones, which you then turn in. And you can see by my splits, I had a very quick level 59. And that's because as you level, you're saving 12 stacks each of wool, silk, mage weave, and rune cloth for the 4 city turn-ins that you always do at 59. That's a total of 48,800 XP. You finish at Dawson's and you run to EPL for the Scourge Stone turn-ins where you get 550 XP per 20 stone turn-in. So for me, that was another 52,250 XP. You will also have mailed yourself 30 each of the Savage Frawn, the Crypt Fiend parts, the Core of Elements, and the Dark Iron scraps, and then you'll have many, many more than 30 bone fragments that you will have farmed and collected and all that grinding for EPL for all those turn-ins in Light Hope's Chapel, and that's another 33,000 XP. And in my case, I had a couple flawless spheres and an imperfect crystal that you can turn in the Blasted Lands area for another 19,750 XP. So, you know, all that math was where I only had to grind 56k into level 59 before I ran off into turn-in, so it was a pretty quick level. So it's nearly all mob grinding for me, very little questing. I only do quests that are super convenient or like related to the mobs I'm grinding. So like I will kill Belly Grub and do the necklace in Red Ridge. I'll do Yowler's Paw. I'll do the first Green Warden quest to kill the gnolls in Wetlands. I do a couple rounds of Worgen quests in Duskwood. At Pirates, I'll do the hats and get the heads of the 2 name guys there. And in WPL, I'll do Clear the Way at Sorrow Hill. And I'll do the three of the Cauldron quests. And like, that's it. So anyway, this is getting a little long to put a cap on this. I hit 60 in level 40 greens in Eagle gear. I got a generous group to help me do the Dire Maul water quest right away. And then I quickly went back to the scene of the crime. I went to do 1 pull of ZG Crocs right away, successfully this time. And that's my story of my latest hardcore death. Folks, if you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching. If you want to hit the like or sub button, that's awesome. Hope you have a great day.